Listening to Locked On Wildcats, I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to this show. We're going to talk about some big transfer news. We're also going to talk a little bit of where Arizona is going to look. But as always, not as always, but the show is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for listening to Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, as many of you know, Dorian Singer, the star wide receiver for Arizona, has entered the transfer portal. I'm not going to sit here and say that I thought this would happen. You always would hear rumblings about certain things, but let's just first talk about what it means on the field. First of all, it's a loss. There's really no other way to put it. I mean, Dorian Singer, while he might not be the best wide receiver in the conference, he's one of them, and he's certainly on that short list. When you watch him play, he's got a knack for getting open, he's got great ball skills, and he's got fantastic hands. He would start at about any school in the country. He's that type of dude. So I would expect him to have a lot of suitors. And, honestly, it makes a lot of sense why anybody would want to have this, a guy like that who is, really, like I said, he can do pretty much everything. Now, again, he's not a great athlete, but he's also a guy who just has the ability of getting open. And, I don't know that there's really nothing that you can't really teach what his ability is. Now, the one thing that does help Arizona immensely is that the wide receiver unit is one of the deepest unit. It's the deepest unit on the team. And I would imagine that Jedd Fisch and company will be able to get some pretty good replacements in there. And because remember, when you look at this squad and you see what they have, you look at the receiver position, especially. There's a good chance that Jacob Kyon comes back, and if Jacob Kyon comes back, then you've got him, you got T-Mac, you got Kevin Green, you got AJ Jones, you've got some pretty talented dudes out there. And I think that at this stage, it's kind of fair to say that. Jedd Fisch, you just got to have trust in him. Now, again, defensively, we're certainly going to have to, we'll have to talk a little bit about where Arizona is defensively, and we're going to talk about losing some of those players. But again, you never want to lose a player like that. But, this is the one position where you're essentially okay. I mean, again, okay is relative, but it's a pretty talented unit. It's a pretty talented unit regardless. So again, not ideal for Arizona, but this should be something that this should be a storm that they should be able to weather. Now, looking at the rest of the squad, then you look at who else they've also lost. You've lost Jamari Joyner to the transfer portal. Love Jamari. Big fan of Jamari, as everybody knows. Problem with Jamari is that his career just got derailed by foot injuries. I thought Jamari was on his way to being an NFL type player. Maybe he can get that back, but it's one of those things. A fresh start is probably best for everybody on that front. Now Kyon Barrs and Paris Shand, they're pretty much, I think they're pretty much depth guys at this point. Kyon Barrs going into the season, I think a lot of people had really high expectations for, and just wasn't able to really able to take that next step. And that's something that I think was a little bit disappointing. And I think Arizona fans probably, I was disappointed. I thought Kyon Barrs was going to have a really big year for Arizona. He didn't. And by the end of the year, Paris Shan and Kyon Barrs had kind of been replaced by Jacob Kongaika and Tai Uiagalelei. And I think that was going to be the case going forward as well. So those guys, again, that's lost to your defensive line depth with Barrs and Shan, but I don't know that's not high quality loss, I guess, for lack of a better term. Jackson Turner is certainly a loss. He's not great, but he's also a guy that he's better than Christian Young. And at the safety position, he was able to get players that were able, he was able to make some plays from time to time. Now, I think that with Arizona, this was probably more of we can't promise you a starting spot because we don't want to lose Isaiah Taylor. Now, Isaiah Taylor, obviously Jason Taylor's son, he was a big-time safety not a big-time safety recruit, but he's a guy that I think the coaching staff has a really big, has high hopes for. I'll put it to you like that. So again, that's a little bit of a loss. That's certainly a loss, but you also got to think that with Isaiah Taylor, you also got to wonder, what can he reach? What is his apex and how good can he be? And I don't know that one, but the coaching staff is around him all the time. And they know obviously a little bit more than I do on that subject, but overall the losses, I think for Arizona, Dorian Singer's a loss. Like I said, I'm not going to be one of the fans that sits here and pretends that he's not, but at the same time, I think Arizona will be able to weather that storm. Not thrilled about Jackson Turner leaving, but overall, we're kind of just in a new era of college football right now. And I think that that's going to be something we're going to be talking about this. This is going to be something we're going to be talking about year in and year out going forward for the foreseeable future. And I don't know that there's really anything you can do about it. Just kind of the way it is. So Jedd Fisch, though, has shown one thing, and Jedd Fisch has shown that he has a great Jedd Fisch has shown that he has that ability. So we'll find out. We'll find out where exactly. We'll find out where they are now. I do wonder, though, what he's going to be able to do going forward with this defense, because with this defense, the thing you got to remember, and again, this is important to remember, is that some of these guys are a lot of these guys are going to be expendable. Now, let's just look at the defense and see who is going to start. Jacob Kongaika is going to start. Tai Uiagalelei is going to start. Deuce Davis will start. Jacob Manu will start. Ephesians Prysock, Christian Roland Wallace. You could see Takario Davis. I would imagine Isaiah Taylor on there as well. There are certainly some options right there. Arizona will not have a lack of options when it comes to players on defense. It's just going to be what kind of players are they? And I think that that's going to be a question that we're going to have to. I think that's going to be a question that we're going to have to find out here. And again, we'll find out. We'll find out. Now, offensively, though, you're going to be really, really good. Offensively, it's either way, you're going to probably lose Jordan Morgan. Jordan Morgan is a loss. Totally get that. But at the same time, it's up to Jedd Fisch to be able to. It's up to Jedd Fisch to be able to find those guys. And I think that when it is and again, Jedd Fisch. One of Jedd Fisch's things is that he's shown that he's going to recruit and he's not going to take a back seat to anybody. And I think that's certainly something that is exciting, that's enticing, and we're going to find out exactly where Arizona is right now with the transfer portal, and I think that will be that's going to be a fun thing to find out. I don't know, but I will say that Jed Fish has certainly shown that he has the capabilities to recruit at a next level. Think about it this way: last year, you had an offense that needed to be overhauled, and he was able to overhaul it. And again, this was something that I think at this stage you just need to be able to do for the defense. Now, again, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world, because I think defensively, it's harder to find, I think, guys on the defensive market who are difference makers on that side of the ball, mainly because I think it's a little bit more difficult. But again, it's certainly something I could see happening. So again, it's going to be up to Jed Fish, and we're going to talk about that and a little bit about what the rest of the Pac-12 looks like in a second. But first, let's talk a little bit of Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks, my friends. Okay, now, first of all, everybody knows about Omaha Steaks. It's fantastic food. And remember, here's what you do. Promo code locked on to check it out. But let's talk a little bit about what you got going on with Omaha Steaks, because again, pretty good stuff going on. It's everything you need to gift that's simply perfect. Again, we're in the holiday season right now. Everybody wants some good food. Gifts are perfectly aged, tender steaks, juicy burgers, decadent desserts, and classic comfort meals. A gourmet gift from Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift they'll remember with every unforgettable bite. Plus, with this special video offer, get $30 off your order. Minimum order required, but you can shop early and beat the shipping rush. Whether you're shopping for friends, colleagues, or yourself, every order is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Check it out, Omaha Steaks. Again, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you, and we're going to talk about where Arizona stacks up in the Pac-12 South. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit about where the rest of the South is. Now, right now you've got a guy who is at ASU. There's a lot going on with Kenny Dillingham, and I will say that I'm going to give him a little bit of credit here. I'm going to give Kenny Dillingham a little bit of credit. The main guy is that he wants to be there. That's a very important aspect to it, because again, Arizona, ASU are not jobs that are easy to win at per se. You've got to be able to really grind. You've got to embrace the grind as well, because again, if you don't embrace the grind, then it's going to be a Rich Rodriguez type situation. Now, remember this, in that Rich Rodriguez was a very, very good coach. X's and O's, Rich Rodriguez was absolutely fantastic, but the problem is that he didn't really embrace being here. And again, that's an issue. At Arizona, you don't have the greatest, in-state talent to be able to choose from. So you've got to be able to get players that, when they're around, you've got to be able to get them. And I think that Kenny Dillingham has certainly shown, at least by his staff and what he said, that he's going to embrace this grind. And when he said that this is his dream, this was a dream job, I believe him. Now, again, I hope that he fails spectacularly there, but I do believe that he is going to put everything into the job. And that's something, too, that I think with Jed Fish that you really have to look at and admire, mainly because Jed Fish is you talk with coaches, you talk with players, and they say, man, nobody outworks this guy. I mean, he came in here and, we had Chester Burnett on, Kyon Burnett's father. And he said, he's like, the guy was recruiting Kyon more after he committed than even before. And that's something that, it's pretty cool when you think about it, is that, so again, you've got two coaches here that want to be here. The problem for Dillingham is that he is inheriting an absolutely terrible roster. And I don't, that's going to take some time. Just like when Jed Fish inherited a really bad roster, it was going to take him some time. This is kind of the same situation. Now, it'll be fascinating to see what exactly he does recruiting-wise and in the portal. He's talked about how, and what his staff is going to look like. Because remember, the staff right now is not it's not a staff that really catches your attention. Now, again, it might catch your attention later on, but they're not at that point right now. So we'll find out. But that's kind of where we're at. Now, Colorado, Dion. I love this hire. Now, maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. But I get people that say they don't understand the hire. You're absolutely crazy if you don't understand the hire, because it just makes sense. Colorado, and keep in mind, Colorado is a school that when I was growing up, Colorado was one of the best programs in the country. In the 90s, they're, won a national title in the top when it was Bill McCartney, and then he gave way, obviously, to Rick Neuheisel. It was a big time program, and they've certainly gotten away from that. Here's the thing, though, that I can tell you: Dion is going to be able to recruit. Again, I don't know if he can coach at a high level, but Dion 100% will be able to recruit. Just look at what he did at Jackson. Excuse me. Just look at what he did at Jackson State, where he got Travis Hunter, the number 1 rated player in the entire nation, to come there. I don't know that he'll be able to, recruit at a top 3 to 5 level, but Dion's going to be bringing in top 15 to top 20 recruiting classes pretty much, I would say, every single year, as long as he's there, because kids are going to want to play for Dion. And he's also, when you bring in Shadur Sanders, his son, that's going to, at least theoretically, that should solve some of the quarterbacking problems, because again, he's one of the better quarterbacks, at least, coming out of high school and in the college ranks. So again, we'll find out where that's at. But I think Colorado is going to be pretty good, and I think they're going to be pretty good pretty quickly. Again, I don't think they're going to be a national title contender, but I think they're going to be significantly better than they've been. Okay, now let me tell you about Built Bar. All right, Built Bar is, when you think about it, when you think about things where you're like, I just want to get better. I want to get bigger. I want to get stronger. I want to get more physical. Built Bar can help you with that. Built Bar, based out of Utah, is, first of all, it tastes really good. How many times have you had some of these protein bars and they just taste absolutely terrible? And you're like, ugh, it tastes somewhat like tastes kind of like chalk or paste. There is none of that when it comes to Built Bar. When it comes to Built Bar, it just tastes good. And honestly, there's nothing that's better than, pre or a post workout and knowing that you're going to be eating something that not only is going to get you stronger, but is going to get you even, that is going to be able to get you even more, that's going to be able to get you even more to that point. So again, we're going to find out right there where exactly Arizona is at, but Built Bar is absolutely fantastic. Check it out, Built Bar. We'll be right back. We're going to get you ready for tomorrow. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, so we talked about the transfer portal. The one thing that I think that people need to remember is that at the end of the day, this is not the worst thing in the world, because every school is losing transfers. That's just the way it is. When kids can move about in the manner in which they can now, you're going to lose some kids. And you know what? You don't love it, but there's really nothing that you can really do about it. You've just got to be able to minimize the important losses, and you've got to be able to get the guys that you really need. And the one thing that Jed Fish has certainly shown is that he can recruit the portal. So we're going to find out exactly what he's all about, but I have faith in him because he's certainly shown in the past that he knows what he's doing on the transfer portal front. And, you've got to be able to overhaul the defense right there. You've got to be able to get guys in here who are going to be able to be some real difference makers. We're going to talk about that again tomorrow. But as always, you've been listening to Locked On Wildcats.